Hello and welcome to Oddschecker's coverage of the NFL season right here on the eve of the NFL. What's going on? I am Matt O'Leary. I'm joined by Matt Dead Prez Picks, and I'm joined by Stuart Monotone Football. What's going on, boys? How we doing?
Fired up. NFL tomorrow, so I can't complain right now.
Love that. Stu, how about you?
Yeah, people, my name's Monotone Football, right? People all year long, they tell me change it to betting, change it to something else. But for me, baseball, basketball, that's all an appetizer. And I'm hungry. It's entree time, boys.
I absolutely love it. We are here. We're going to get into the episode. A few housekeeping things. So if you are hanging out in the video, please make sure to get involved in the chat because we are doing 3 different $100 giveaways tonight. And we also have to give away the $500 winner at the end. So stay tuned to the end to find out. And I'm going to be picking comments randomly throughout. We're going to try to do it as fair as humanly possible here. No cheating, guys, on picking out the winners here. But let's hop right into it. So if you're watching, again, make sure to get involved in the comments section. You might get picked. We're going to do some NFL futures stuff today. So we'll go to DPP first. What are we feeling future-wise for the NFL season?
All right, I'm going to kick us off here with let's go with the Saints team total first, over 8.5. So I'm high on this team this season. I think their division, they match up pretty well here with who they're going to face in the division. We know they've weirdly had the number of Tom Brady and the Bucs the past few seasons. You get Carolina, who I like. We're going to get to that later, but I think worse there. They will split with them. And then you have the Atlanta Falcons, who I think could be the worst team in the NFL. So I think they should take 2 there from Atlanta. But if you look at what they did here in the offseason, I thought they had a really good draft. Their wide receiver core, you bring back Michael Thomas, was probably a top 7 receiver, right, when he got hurt. I think a lot of people are forgetting about how dominant he was. You add Jarvis Landry to that wide receiver core, Chris Olave through the draft. And Jameis Winston was having an outstanding year before he got hurt. I think Jameis a lot of times is a character. We know his personality. Funny guy to watch off the field. But, I mean, we forget he was a top pick in the draft. He was having a great year. I think he comes back and has a really good year for them again. And this was a really good defense last season. We know how good they can be on the defensive side of the football if they can limit teams, shut them down. They ranked 4th in the NFL last year in defense. I think that 8.5 is very doable. You look at kind of outside the division who they play, and just some favorable matchups that I see. They have Arizona. They play the Raiders at home, the Steelers. They have some games in there that they should be able to take care of business. So I think they have a favorable schedule. They get Seattle also at home. That's another one that I think will be an easy win. I see them winning actually 4 games in the division. I think they'll be able to get to the 5 outside of it. So I like the Saints team total over.
Okay, I like that one too. You sold me on that one. Let's head on over to Stuart. What's one that's jumping out to you? We'll go back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely like that Saints play right there. Definitely on my radar. For me, I'm going with an under right here, mixing it up a little. I'm going against my own team. I'm a Washington, now Commanders, football team, whatever you want to call it, fan. But I'm going under 8 wins this season. The Carson Wentz, like most fans, the Carson Wentz acquisition didn't quite, settle very well with me. But even beyond that, the offense is going to continue to, I think, be mediocre. What I'm really worried about is the defense. Obviously, last year touted before the season as one of the best defenses in football. Draft them in your fantasy leagues, get them everywhere. And that is absolutely not how it ended up turning out, right? One of the worst defenses really in football for a good portion of the season. Former first-round pick Chase Young is going to start out the season on the PUP list, meaning he'll at least miss the first 4 weeks. I don't know if anyone saw him at Ohio State, but he was echoing around there. So that obviously is a worry for me. Chase Young, I don't know. That's a big piece for me right there. That defense is lacking linebacker depth. It's lacking safety depth. I'm pretty worried about Washington's ability to get 8 wins this season. You can get under 8 wins. There's a push potential right there. Eagles obviously got better. Cowboys didn't get better, but I still think the Cowboys are a better team. And the Giants, Daniel Jones has some of his best career numbers going up against Washington. If you look at those numbers versus Washington and then the rest of the league, it'll kind of show you how much this Washington team struggled. So I like fading my own team right here. I even got a little personal football. I like to support the team, but I don't think it's going to be a great season. So I'm on the under 8. I think at worst this is a push, but I think it's a win.
Okay, I really like that one too. I think I'm gonna have to sprinkle something on that for you. We got our first $100 giveaway, and I went through the condoms randomly, and I chuckled to myself for 2 reasons. One, phenomenal YouTube name. Two, great question that this commenter throws in. So congrats to Disputed God. He says, who's playing tomorrow? So one, Disputed God, number one, please make sure to reach out to Oddschecker on Twitter or Instagram. Send a DM, and we'll link up with you there and get you our info to send over the $100. But yeah, well, can we hijack the show a little bit and do a little Bills Rams for tomorrow? Because that's who's playing. We got to answer his question at least, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I like the Bills here in this spot. I think the money will end up being pretty split, where people go in this game. But this is a good spot, in my opinion, for Buffalo. Obviously, they want to get that sour taste out of their mouth. That game last year, we all remember how it ended against Kansas City. One of the best football games I think I've ever watched. Obviously, an entertaining game. I'm not going to say it's a Super Bowl hangover here from the Rams, but you might see that a little bit early here. I think Buffalo comes out, and I think the fact that we see the Rams at plus money at home is just a little strange to me. I don't really fully understand why are they dogs here. They just won the Super Bowl. They're playing at home, but yet they're still underdogs. And I know everybody loves the Bills this year. They're the most bet on team to win the Super Bowl. I get all that. But I think they come out and I see an absolute shootout of a game. But I like Josh Allen more than I like Matthew Stafford. So I think when it's going to be a high-scoring game, I'm going to trust the better quarterback, and I'm going to ride the Bills here.
Yeah, I have to say, I think we're in agreement right here. I mean, Bills present the highest ceiling, I think, out of any team in football, right? With Josh Allen at quarterback, obviously Diggs and Davis is going to be a lethal wide receiver duo. They just paid Knox, so he's going to be there for a while. Obviously a great red zone threat right there. I don't know. I think this was interesting for the Rams when it was like 3.5 when it opened there. But now that we're down to 2, it's obviously pretty much a one score, less than 3 right here. I think we'll definitely take the Bills as well. It'll be a good game, though. I'm excited, man. This is a potential Super Bowl matchup.
Yep.
Yeah, kiss of death right here, boys. I like the Bills too. So we're 3 for 3. So Rams fans, yeah, what could possibly go wrong here? I agree with what you guys said. I think this is going to be a great game. What a way to start the season. But after losing a heartbreaker in the playoffs last year, I just feel like this Bills team is going to be extremely motivated. They'll come in and start hot. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they rattle off like 8, 9, 10 wins in a row before they lose their first game. Kind of hot start to the year. I think it's a little too chalky to pick them for the Super Bowl, so I'm not going to do that. More on who I'm picking for the Super Bowl later. But I think they get off to their season hot, and I think they're the better team, so I'm going Buffalo. So love to work in some week 1 talk.
Yeah,
let's get.
We found out who's.
Love that. So let's get back to some futures. Matt, what's sticking out to you? Some more.
All right, so I'm going to go with the Colts here to win the South. I hopped on this actually when it was plus money when it first opened. I think it's like minus 130, 135 now, but I still love this line. I think when you break down the South, it's going to be a 2-horse race between Tennessee and Indianapolis. But I like the Colts here a lot more this season coming into the season. This is not a Ryan Tannehill guy. We kind of saw in the playoffs. Didn't sell me on anything there. I think he's about as average as possible. The loss of A.J. Brown, I know they bring in Treylon Burks as a draft pick in the offseason. They bring in Robert Woods to that wide receiver core. But I think the loss of A.J. Brown is going to be a massive loss. Now he's obviously with my Eagles. But I think when he's at his best form, he can be a top 10 receiver in the game. They're going to rely heavily on Derrick Henry here offensively. We know how good he can be. But, I mean, one injury to Henry, and I think their season is shot. They're not a great defense here. Indianapolis last season, top 10 defense. The issue was Carson Wentz, as you hit earlier, monotone, now a part of the Commanders. But you bring in Matt Ryan. We've seen how great he's been through his career. I'm not going to say they're as good as the Rams, but it kind of reminds me what the Rams did. Like, they had a roster that could win. They just needed the quarterback to come in. They upgraded to Matthew Stafford. Similarly to Ryan, neither of them have been able to win, the Super Bowl, even though Matt Ryan should have a Super Bowl. He doesn't at this point. So he's going to get his shot here. He's going to give it everything he has. But I think when you break down the Colts roster, they're much better than anyone in that division. We know the Jags and the Texans, they don't look like they're a threat to win the division this year. So I think when you break it down, it's really just going to be the two teams. A really good offensive line that they have. I like Michael Pittman a lot. I think Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati, I think he's going to have a really good year also for the Colts. And defensively, I actually think they got better. Some more additions to that defense that we're going to see throughout the year make an impact. Stephon Gilmore there at the corner position as well that they were able to add. So I like the Colts a lot to come out of the South, and I still think we're getting a good price on it.
Love that. Stu, you agree? You going somewhere else? What's the take?
Yeah, no, that division, that's an ugly division, right? I kind of like the Jags as a sleeper. I know some people,
got the value.
year 2 Trevor Lawrence, but when it comes to matchups, personally, once they go to the Colts, that's a tough game to win. The Colts, I think, are just going to run it down the Jags' throat. So even if the Jags do have a good season, I don't think it's going to be at the expense of the Colts. So it's hard to argue. I want to argue. I really do. I want to find some long shot in this division to upset the Colts because who wants to root for Matt Ryan for a whole season, right? It's just a little bit boring, but I unfortunately can't really find many holes in your argument right here. I think it's a very solid bet.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I think they'll be able to fend them off. But I think the Jags have the value there in the South. If you mentioned like a long shot, Texans hold no value. Titans, I don't think the price is good enough. So I think the Jags do hold a lot of value. I hope they got Doug Peterson now, so they got a real coach. I don't ever admire anymore in Jacksonville. It should be a lot better than last year, and I think Lawrence will have a bounce back year as well.
Love that. And before we get over to Monotone with his next one, we're going to do our second $100 winner. Want to say a congrats to Charles Woods. Make sure to reach out on Twitter or IG, send a message, and we will link up that you are winner number 2. He says Allen over 25 rushing yards. So we get to work in some more Bills and Rams talk. Yeah. What do we think? Do we like that prop? Anyone?
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, that's obviously a little bit low. I think his regular props in the 30s, right? So I think that's maybe an alt line, but either way, I like Allen a lot in this game. I mean, he's one of those guys, he'll put his shoulder down and knock down an opposing linebacker. He's a big guy. We're not talking about Kyler Murray kind of scampering around. He'll knock people over. And in big games, we see quarterbacks tend to be willing to put their bodies on the line. Primetime, first game of the year, I think Allen's going to make a statement. So I think rushing yards definitely going to be a part of that.
Yeah, I love that as well. I mean, I think he'll definitely be able to get there in this game. I love anything Josh Allen related, so I'm all in on that. I just think we're going to see yards and points here. I think this is going to be just a fun.
Yeah, I love that. I am definitely in on it. I think both of those teams, or excuse me, I think Josh Allen definitely clears that number. It's going to be a shootout game, and there's going to be a lot of offense involved. So let's go over to Monotone now. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I'll take us to a player future. We're talking player props, quarterback rushing yards. I'll go Trey Lance over 500.5 rushing yards this season. You got to pay a little bit of juice, but I think it's worth it. In his final collegiate season at North Dakota State University, ran for over 1,000 yards. So the pedigree's there, right? When he was drafted at the number 2 overall position, that was obviously because of his dual threat abilities. I think Lance obviously impressed a lot of people in his 2 starts last season. He ran the ball over 20 times in those 2 starts for over 120 yards. So even in 2 starts last season, he was 1/5 of the way there. Even if we're looking at week 1 lines, he's already in the high 30s on most sports books. According to this 500 number, he'd really only have to average in the low 30s per game. I think Lance is going to have a couple blow-up games. He had a 16-rush game last season, 16 rushes in one game when he was coming off the bench. I think they're going to utilize his rushing abilities. I think they're going to run more than almost any other team in football this season. And I think Lance is going to have a good season. I'm excited to see the rookie, but I think 500 rushing yards is pretty safe, whether he has a good season or whether he doesn't have a good season. Because if he doesn't have a good season, it's going to be because of his arm, not his abilities to run. And if his arm is struggling, if he can't constantly connect with these other guys, he's going to turn to the running game more, and he's going to have to rely on his legs. So I like Lance to have a great season. I think 500 yards is way too low.
I love that. I'm buying the Trey Lance stock as well, so you don't have to sell me on that one. I'm in on these year 2 quarterbacks. I want to throw one out there, guys. I want to get in on the fun too. One of the futures that I really like a lot this year is the Ravens to win the AFC North at plus 145. I love this team. I think Lamar is extremely, extremely motivated. He's playing for a contract unless something happens in the next day or two. He's going to be extremely motivated to prove the doubters wrong. They were so injured last year. They were one of the most hurt teams in the NFL all of last year. They arguably had the best draft. They had a great offseason. They bring in Marcus Williams. Like, this team is going to be really, really good. I think they're a really nice candidate to be a Super Bowl pick or potentially to come out of the AFC. I think this team, while the Bengals are getting a lot of love and they deserve it, I think Joe Burrow, what he did last year was phenomenal. I think the team got better. Offensive line improved, but AFC North runs through the Ravens this year, guys. I think they are that good.
100%. Yeah, I agree. And Lamar's going to try to show out to get every penny he's worth. So, and I expect some regression there from Cincinnati. Obviously, they were great last year, but I don't know if they're going to be able to run it back in the fashion that they ran it last year.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
me, I was gonna say I'm a bit of a Bengals guy. I love Joe Burrow. He impressed me with that star quality last season. But I agree. I love Lamar this season. He's a guy that I did sprinkle to win MVP. He's done it once before. I think he's become a better passer since those seasons. And like you said, they weren't just kind of crippled last season. They were completely demolished by injuries. I mean, it's hard to even look at last season's stats and kind of compare it to this season. So I think Lamar's in store for a great year. And they also got rid of wide receiver number 1. So more of the responsibility really is going to be on Lamar. And when you have more responsibility, you also have more credit. So when he performs well, the media is going to like that. So I do buy the Ravens this season. It's going to be a fun division. These Browns, Steelers, divisional games, all these guys, Ravens, Bengals, I think it'll be a great division. Should be some good football this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Matt, do you have any more futures for us to run through here?
Yeah, I'm going to throw another one. You got to stick with me here because I'm going to go with the Panthers over 6.5. So I know everyone's not going to love the Baker Mayfield love here, but I'm going to go with the bold prediction that they start 4-0. So they get the Browns at home, they get the Giants on the road, then they get the Saints at home. I think they're going to pull off an upset there, and then I think they could beat the Cardinals at home. So I'm going all in here on the Panthers. But when you look at their non-division games, I think they have a lot of winnable games. The ones that I mentioned, I think they'll beat Seattle. I think they'll beat the Lions. I think they'll beat Pittsburgh at home. And then you go in division, and I think they're going to be able to compete, maybe split there with the Saints, right? I don't know if they're going to beat the Bucs. I won't go that far. But I think that they should be able to take care of business against the Falcons. So I think this is a number that's just hanging too low, to tell you the truth. And I mean, I'm a big Baker Mayfield bounce back guy. I think Mayfield got a little bit of a unjustified hate in Cleveland. I mean, he was really banged up last year. He basically didn't have a shoulder. You hope he's healthy, and I think he'll come through with a really good year this year. So I like him to bounce back. He has weapons offensively. If McCaffrey can stay healthy, he has DJ Moore there on the roster. Like, they have guys who are more than capable of stepping up. It's going to be, how does that defense hold up, which will obviously be an important factor as well. But we're not asking much here. We're just asking them to go 7-10. That's not too much to ask out of the team. So I like them here over 6.5.
Can I ask a quick question in there? Can I ask if Baker Mayfield doesn't perform well in week 1, are you worried Robbie Anderson is going to tweet negatively about him and how that maybe affects the locker room dynamic?
Well, Robbie Anderson, he denied it, right? Didn't he deny that he said it? Or I think he tried to back out of that. Yeah, I think he said he was okay. So I think he's already, now I think he's back in on Baker. I mean, he kind of has to. The guy who's going to throw the ball. So he's got to become his friend now.
Yeah, he's listen, I know him and Sam Darnold all too well as a Jet fan. Sam's his guy. He was defending Sam Darnold. That's what he claimed.
That's all he was doing.
Yeah, no, there was definitely zero shade at Baker Mayfield.
Yep, no shade at Mayfield.
Love that. Monotone, do you have any others for us that you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I'll finish this off with one more. I'm going to be going Derek Carr or over 4,400 passing yards this season. I don't normally dip into these quarterback markets as much, but one, I think before even looking at any of my insight on this, I think looking at Vegas, or what Vegas tells us will be really interesting, is there's going to be one team that's in high total games all season, totals above 50, 54 type like games like that. It's going to be in this division that has Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and now Russell Wilson. These guys were already coming up with some insanely high-scoring games last season. I think we're going to see it this year. If you look at the look-ahead totals, they're all above 50 for most of these divisional games, which clearly shows there's going to be some offense. If you look at last season, 4,800 passing yards. Darren Waller only played 11 of those games. That means his top outside receivers were Zay Jones and Bryan Edwards during that time, with Hunter Renfrow manning down the slot. This season, we have a healthy Darren Waller to start out the year. Hunter Renfrow still in the slot. And now Devontae Adams, arguably the best wide receiver in football over these last couple seasons on the outside. This team is perfectly built around Derek Carr to score points. And guess what? That secondary isn't good. That secondary still isn't good. They have a good pass rushing duo. Max Crosby going to get at the quarterback. Chandler Jones. Those guys are good. That secondary is still going to be weak. They're going to give up plenty of points in that division. And now they have the offensive firepower to actually shoot back. So he got 400 yards more than this last season with Zay Jones and Bryan Edwards. Give me Darren Waller and Devontae Adams 10 out of 10 times.
I love that. I agree. I think they throw the ball all over the place, and I think he clears that pretty easily. Carr, I don't know why he gets some hate sometimes. I don't get it. I think he's a good quarterback. Yeah, I'm with you there.
I mean, I think they'll have a good year. I see them playing from behind a lot in that division, so I see a lot of yards accumulating for Carr.
I love it. So we have our final $100 giveaway before we announce the $500 grand prize. And it actually turned out to be a perfect segue. And it's from Amro Al, who comments, who y'all got for Super Bowl champs? And Amro, please make sure to reach out on Twitter or IG to Oddschecker US, and we'll get you linked up there for your prize. But perfect segue into our final segment, Super Bowl futures. Let's start up top with Matt.
All right, I'm gonna go Indianapolis here at plus 2,500 just because I was just on them. So I'm gonna throw a long shot into the hat here. But I think if they get in, they're a dangerous team. Like I said, they're a top 10 defense in my mind. I think the addition of Matt Ryan kind of just takes the pressure off the rest of this team. Let him kind of take over. We'll see how he plays here, but I think he's gonna have a really good year in this system. They have a great offensive line. This is a blessing for Matt Ryan after playing on that Atlanta Falcons offensive line. He will feel much more protected. Jonathan Taylor was outstanding last year. I don't know if he can obtain the kind of season he had last year, but I think we'll have a really strong year for them again, and I really like this wide receiver core. I was high on Pittman coming into the league, and he excelled last year with Carson Wentz. Now he gets a better quarterback now in Matt Ryan. You get Paris Campbell, but the guy I'm highest on that is kind of off the chart here is Alec Pierce, the rookie from Cincinnati. I think he's going to come in and give them a lot of really good reps. I think he's going to be involved in this offense and have a really solid season. So I'm all in. Sorry, my dog doesn't like to pick, but I'm all in on the Colts this year.
Love that. Okay, bold, monotone. What are we thinking?
Yeah, no, that's ballsy right there. I respect it. They're built to win championships. O-line, D-line. When you look at it, historically, that's what it is. It's not as sexy as we like, but O-line, D-line gets the job done. For me, I feel like the AFC is so hard that I almost want to just kind of stick to the NFC for these kind of season-long futures. I do have a smaller Bills future, but that line obviously isn't as great anymore. But that just seems like such a harder division. I kind of like a little bit of value has been created, in my opinion, on the Packers. I think the Packers, obviously not media darlings. People don't seem to love Aaron Rodgers, everything surrounding him. And obviously everything's being made of the losing wide receivers. And I think that could be a problem as we get deeper into the season. But I think they'll be addressing some of these problems as we get to the trade deadline, as we get possibly an Odell Beckham Jr. signing if he can get healthy by that kind of postseason time. I think this team will bolster the weaknesses, but the Packers still have one of the best active quarterbacks in football and a defense that looks like it's improved this offseason. So for me, I'm kind of taking my Super Bowl futures to the NFC. I'd rather kind of have a little bit less competition and maybe have to hedge out in the Super Bowl than kind of go through that ringer of Bills, Chiefs, Chargers. Oh, absolutely brutal on the AFC side.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the AFC side's a lot tougher. If I were to go with someone from the AFC side, I really like the value on Baltimore. They're not going to be my pick for the Super Bowl, but value-wise, I really like them. So if I would go from someone from the AFC, that's who it would be. My answer is going to be a little bit chalky. I'm going to go with the Bucs at plus 900, but I know they have the injuries on the offensive line. I know there was so much drama with Tom Brady in the offseason, but I feel like Tom Brady is at his best whenever there's any kind of doubt or like question of like, oh, is this finally when he's going to fall off? He's going to go on another run, throw for 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, and go out win the freaking Super Bowl. Like we've seen this story a million times, but I'll give you one more twist. Even we finally get for real this time him retiring at the end of the year. He goes, all right, win the Super Bowl, go out, ride into the sunset.
He's actually done this time.
Actually done. He's going to be in the Fox booth in 2023. I'm done. Maybe it's just like, I don't know, being beat down by Tom Brady for 20 years, just doing a number on me here. But I am all the way out on Tom Brady. And if this gets him out the door, I'll put my money.
You'll take it.
That? Yeah.
I think everyone would be in agreement that we would be fine with Tom Brady retiring. As non-Tampa Bay Buck fans, I'm good with Brady hanging up the cleats.
And maybe we'll even see him on The Masked Singer at some point this year. If you guys are into that, he sounds like he's already dipping his toes while he's missing training.
Love that. So let's give away the grand prize, $500. We're announcing the winner. So congratulations to Joe McKenney, our winner. Congratulations on winning the $500 bet. Amazing. Love that for you, Joe. Make sure to reach out. We'll be in contact too, I'm sure. So gotta love it, boys. Football season is here. Any final thoughts before we go?
I'll say the Eagles might also win the Super Bowl. So I'll give them the love they deserve. So that'll be my final comment.
No bias. No bias.
No
there.
bias at all. Nothing behind me or any other reason.
I would say alt line Eagles under 6.5 wins this season.
We don't like that.
Too perfect. It's not going to happen. It's too perfect. They're getting too many good players. I don't believe it.
They are getting too much love. That is scaring me. It reminds me of that super team.
Gotta love it. The 2011 Eagles super team. What could have been? But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to our preview show here at Oddschecker for Monotone Football and Dead Press Picks. I'm Matt O'Leary, and we'll talk to you next time.